نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم والفرقان الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة واركعوا مع الراكعين. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إذا شك أحدكم في صلاته أنه كم صلى فليستقبل الصلاة، أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. صدق الله مولانا العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم، ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربنا يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح ربي زدني علما. اللهم صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. My dear respected brothers and elders, we continue on the topic of sujood sahwi, the sajdah of forgetfulness. Inshallah, tonight will be the last night we will be discussing this topic. And we mentioned a lot about the sajdah of forgetfulness already. We will finish with a few rulings and then after go into actually some of the things that we normally or people may normally do in their salah that would cause the sajdah of forgetfulness to become wajib or not to become wajib. We spoke in our last day's session, my dear respected brothers and sisters, about farz salah, nafil salah. A person did not sit in the second rakat, and we explained those things fully in the previous session. We move on to another ruling with regards to sujood sahwi. One who has made the salam to terminate his salah and he forgets to perform the sujood sahwi, which was wajib upon him, will now perform the sujood sahwi as long as he did not turn away from the qibla or did not do anything that prevents the continuation as talking, etc. This point, my dear respected brothers and elders, is letting us know that if we did not perform the sujood sahwi and we were supposed to perform it, but we said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And now we are there sitting, probably reciting tasbih or just sitting for a few moments. And then we realized I was supposed to make sujood sahwi. This ruling is stating, my dear respected brothers and elders, a person will now be able to go down, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, with the tasbihats and so on, and then continue the salah from the end. Though they perform the salah as they have completed the salah already. They did the salah until the end, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then they just behaved as though they they completed their salah. Now, they realized Sajdah sahwi became essential. Allahu Akbar. They now remembered. They can go down. This is what the masla is saying. As long as the person didn't turn away from the qibla or did not do anything which prevents continuation as talking, etc. If a person asks the person next door, did I miss a rakat? We are speaking, so therefore it breaks our salah. We cannot go down in sujood sahwi anymore. That cuts the whole salah there. Or a person stood up, turned away from the qibla, started to walk outside, or went to fetch a Quran in the masjid, and then he realized, he turned his chest away from the qibla, he realized sujood sahwi was wajib upon him. In this case, it will now cut him from the continuation of fulfilling the sujood sahwi and continuing until the end. Another masla, another ruling, if one during salah thought about the number of rakats to be performed, etc., to remove doubt that was created, then he will perform sujood sahwi if the thinking process was for the duration of reciting tasbih 3 times or more. And the fuqaha mentioned this ruling in many kitabs. A person, they stop to think about something. Where do I go on to read? I was going to read this surah, but it's not coming to mind. And a person just pauses. And they pause for the amount of time that it would take a person to recite tasbih 3 times. Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Then sujood sahwi becomes essential on that person. And sometimes we see that people are making mistakes in salah with regards to qiraat. Sometimes they are saying, for example, we are reciting Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Alam yaj'al, alam yaj'al, alam yaj'al, just for the sake of example, and we are stuck. We can't remember. Now, as long as we are saying something, alam yaj'al, and then we remember alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil wa arsala alayhim tayran ababil, and we go on, inshallah, we do not have any problem, because we did not stop for the amount of time to recite tasbih 3 times. Now, many people have the concept and are of the opinion, based upon what they have seen from the past and what we grow up with normally, a person sticks in salah and then we will see them doing sujood sahwi afterwards. But in reality, this is why we have mentioned before, sujood sahwi will only be able to make up for the leaving off of wajib acts or things like this, where we are saying we stop reciting for the amount of time to recite tasbih 3 times. If I start to, in other words, if I start to fumble on a surah, that does not necessarily mean I have to make the sajdah of forgetfulness. It does not necessarily mean I have to make the sajdah of forgetfulness. But it can happen whereby I pause, I can't remember, and I am thinking about this thing. I am going to another surah. My mind is going to another surah and then coming back to this one. I cannot find my way. If that happens to an individual, and before the amount of time to recite 3 tasbihs expire, they go into ruku, no problem. They have saved their salah from having to perform sujood sahwi, or they remember and they continue, alhamdulillah. But if they pause and they are waiting either for someone to prompt them or waiting to try to actually get back those particular ayats, and they take the amount of time to recite tasbih 3 times, then they will have to do sujood sahwi. But qiraat, this is the point that we are making. A mistake in qiraat in itself, or fumbling in qiraat, does not necessarily mean sujood sahwi becomes essential. Qiraat of Surah Al-Fatiha is wajib. Qiraat of another surah after Surah Al-Fatiha is wajib in the first 2 rakat of Fardhu Salah. Fumbling in it does not cause or does not make essential sujood sahwi. It does not make essential sujood sahwi. When a person will have to make sujood sahwi is when they stop in their recitation and they have waited for the amount of time to recite tasbih 3 times. Or another scenario is a person recited at-tahiyat and then they pause in the first sitting, they recited at-tahiyat. This is delaying of an arkan of salah, qiyam. So after the at-tahiyat, they just sat there and they were supposed to stand up. They sat there for the amount of time it would take to recite tasbih 3 times and then realize I'm supposed to stand up. Sujood sahwi will become essential in these cases. One who becomes doubtful about the number of rakats of a salah and made salam to terminate the salah, then thereafter he became fully certain that a rak'ah or sajdah of a rak'ah was omitted, will now complete the rak'ah or sajdah as long as he did not turn away from the qibla or did not do anything that prevents continuation, and he will perform sujood sahwi. Speaking about a person is supposed to be performing 4 rakats of Isha. After the 3rd rakat of Isha, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Remember the hadith we did before? Shaitan comes to an individual when they are performing salah. Even before that, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam mentions that when the adhan is called out, shaitan goes away. Then when it stops, he comes back. When the iqamah is called, shaitan goes away. Then he comes back. Not only one shaitan, many shayateen. They will come and they will try to cause the humankind to become confused when they are performing their salah. This is why we always mention it is important to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the accursed shaitan. We can get confused. So now, a person is supposed to perform 4 rakats. Innocent mistake. We are human beings, we commit errors. After the 3rd rakat, the person sits down. The person sits down and says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Again, now he realizes that I did not perform my last rakat. But he didn't talk. He didn't give anyone Assalamu alaikum. And he didn't turn his chest away from the qibla. He didn't turn away from the qibla. And he did not do anything to prevent continuation of the salah. Right? As we mentioned before, getting up to fetch a Quran, moving away, making amalan kathir. If, in this case, he performed 3 rakats and he walked off and then realized he will have to pray back the salah because he was performing 4 rakats of Isha, 1 rakat less will not absolve a person of the duty of performing 4 rakats of fard Isha salah. Right? So he will have to perform it over in that instance. But if he's sitting and he now realizes, I didn't perform a rakat, though he said Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and he's there now sitting in at-tahiyyat, he can still stand up. Complete the salah to the end and then do sajdat sahwi. In the end, he will perform sujood sahwi. He has delayed everything. He has delayed the last sitting. He has delayed the salam. He has delayed the last sitting, right? And he performed salam in a time when he was not supposed to perform salam. And what he can do now is continue the salah. So in this manner, he will be able to fulfill the 4 rakats, though he made salam at the end of 3 rakats. And this is what this ruling is saying. Likewise now, a person realizes, I only perform 1 sajdah. He said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. But then it comes to his mind, I only perform one sajdah in this rak'ah. What can he do? Perform sajdah again. Allahu Akbar. And then come up. Now this sajdah here is not part of the sujood sahwi. This sajdah is a sajdah that he has left off for salah. So now when he comes up, he will say at-tahiyyat until the end, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then do the sujood sahwi until the end of the salah. Right? So 2 aspects here that has been spoken about. One, a person actually omitted a total, a full rak'ah of salah, or a sajdah of a rak'ah was omitted. He will now fulfill that, even though he has said salam, as long as he did not do anything to stop or prevent the continuation of the salah. Likewise, if a person, just as how the person performed 3 rakats, he got up and moved away, he has to repeat the salah now to complete that. If a person, after their salah, moved away from that and realizes that I did not perform a sajdah, now they will have to perform over that particular salah. one will repeat his salah if he becomes doubtful during the salah concerning the number of rakats for the first time after becoming baligh. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, إِذَا شَكَّ أَحَدُكُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِ أَنَّهُ كَمْ صَلَّى فَلْيَسْتَقْبِلِ الصَّلَاةِ. Anyone who becomes doubtful in his salah, how much he has performed, he will start over the salah. He will start over the salah, and this is this particular instance here, whereby this doubt, it happens the first time in a person's life. He became doubtful during the salah concerning the number of rakats. He will repeat the entire salah. And this is when a person becomes baligh and now they are not sure how much rakats they have performed, if it is really 3 or 4. The first time it actually happened, then they will perform that salah over again. He will repeat that salah. If one is habitual of becoming doubtful during salah, then he will think and then act to the number of rakats about which he became fully certain or almost certain. And he will perform sujood sahwi if there was a delay due to the act of thinking. So we will explain this part and then go on to another part of this particular masla. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he also said, "Man shakka fi salatihi falyataharra as-sawab." Whosoever has doubt in his salah, let him seek the truth. Let him seek the truth. Let him try to dig himself to find out how much rakats did he actually perform. And we are going to come to another aspect of this particular masla, but let's explain this part firstly. A person, we said, first time a doubt occurs in a person's life after becoming baligh, they should start over the salah. The person stands up, this is my 3rd rakat or my 4th rakat? I'm not sure how to go further. Best thing, start over the salah. When a person gets that for the first time. Now, habitually, again, it could be because of shaitan, sometimes because of haste, anxiety, worries, all different types of things. Person performing salah and cannot ever remember, sometimes noise. Different things affect an individual when they are performing salah. And we have to know, mashallah, the suitable environment to perform our salah in. And mashallah, of course, the meals, the masajid are the best places for us to perform our salah. And, we try to make it as comfortable as possible. Sukoon, tranquility, whereby we can concentrate on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise in our homes. And, for our wives also in the homes. In our homes, when we are performing our nafil salah there, our wives, and sisters, when they are performing their salah in their homes, right? Comfortable place whereby certain things do not just distract an individual. And of course, sometimes the women folk, they have it a little more difficult with the children and so on. Sometimes a baby might be screaming, whatever have you. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless everyone for their sacrifices and their patience, inshallah. Right? But the point that we are making here, my dear respected brothers and elders, there are different factors that causes a person to become doubtful in their salah and be unaware as to how far they have actually reached. So what we are saying is that they are habitual of this doubt. Then they will try to remember how much rakats did I actually perform. You know what? In the first rakat, I think I recited Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. Let's take, for example, you have the 4 quls. Everyone knows about the 4 quls, right? So just for a simple example, let's tell ourselves a person in the 4 rakat salah, he recites in the first rakat, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. In the second rakat, Qul huwallahu ahad. This is the tartib, how it is in the Quran. Then you have Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. There are other surahs in between, means for the four quls. Qul a'udhu bi Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, and Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. So we have these four surahs. So a person starts to think, you know what? I am sure I could remember myself. Lakum dinukum waliyadin. I'm sure I remember that last ayat. So he's all clear with regards to one rakat. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. I can remember the second rakat, a little shorter, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. I could remember about the jealous person, wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. So it means probably I am on my third rakat, I didn't recite. I am on my fourth rakat now. Because I cannot remember, I don't think I'm in my fifth rakat. I cannot remember reciting about Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. So when the person becomes habitual of the doubt and now he tries to think about it, remember that other masla, if we think for the amount of time to recite tasbih 3 times, we will have to perform the sujood sahwi. Now, the person did not take that amount of time for the sake of simplicity. He did not take that amount of time, but remember the last thing that I recited was Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq wa min sharri hasidin idha hasad. And he remembered that. So he knows now the fourth surah he would have been reciting is Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Right? And he realizes this is my fourth rakat. Then he will act upon that which he is certain or almost certain upon. And if there was any delay, as we mentioned, he would perform the sujood sahwi. If there was no delay, he will not perform any sujood sahwi. If there was no delay, he will not perform the sujood sahwi. Then you have the other aspect. That was what we just explained. Doubts come habitually, but the person is able to eradicate the doubt and now become certain. I have performed 3 rakats. I am on my 4th rakat. No, I am certain or almost certain. Right? If, however, he was unable to ascertain or unable to be certain and he remained doubtful, then he will act according to the lesser number, but he must sit for tashahhud after every such rakat which could have been considered as the last rakat. He will also sit at every such occasion which could have been considered as the last sitting. Whenever he acted according to the lesser number, he will make sujood sahwi. Whenever he acted according to the lesser number, he will make sujood sahwi. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, "Man shakka fi salatihi, falam yadri, athalathan salla am arba'an, bana ala al-aqalli." Whosoever has doubt in his salah, he does not know, is it 3 rakats that I performed or 4? He will build upon the least amount of the rakats. And even in these instances, sometimes it might be better to start over the salah to protect our salah. Sometimes it might be better to start over the salah to protect our salah. But let's say we are on a crunch for time and we need to apply this. We will explain, inshallah, how it is to be done. So, if we are in doubt, I am not sure if this is my 3rd rakat or my 4th rakat. I am not sure if this is my 3rd rakat or my 4th rakat. So we have a possibility of 4 or a possibility of 3. We will actually go not with the higher number. Why? If we say that, you know what, I have a doubt between 3 and 4. Let me think it is 4. If it was 3 rakats, it means I am missing out a rakat. If it was 3 rakats and I thought that, well, no, I will go with the higher number, it means that it is possible I could have left out a rakat. But if it was really 4, and I acted upon the lesser number, which is 3, at least as long as I get the last sitting, even if I perform extra, it is extra, alhamdulillah, I have performed the least, which is compulsory, and that is 4 rakats. Right? So, we are saying, we are unable to ascertain if I have performed 3 rakats or 4 rakats. Then, we will choose the lesser number, 3 or 4, I will tell myself that I perform 3 rakats. And after every such rakat, which can be considered as the last sitting, I will sit down. So for example, I am standing and I am in doubt now. Is this my 3rd rakat or my 4th rakat? These are the 2 possibilities. The possibility really exists. This is my last rakat and I'm over. But I am not sure. So because I am not sure and I am wavering between 3 and 4, I will consider this is my 3rd rakat. Although someone who is looking at us can tell us this is my 4th rakat. What I will do, I will act upon the lesser number 3 and I will sit down, because any rakat that can be considered the last rakat, I must sit down. And remember, we are speaking about 3 or 4. So therefore, this could be my 4th rakat, or it could as well be my 3rd rakat. So after this rakat that I am standing here, Allahu Akbar ruku, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Allahu Akbar. This is the doubtful rakat. It could be the 3rd or the 4th. When I sit in at-tahiyat, I will remain sitting. When I go down for the 2 sajdas, I will remain sitting and sit for the amount of time to recite at-tahiyat. Why? Because this could very well be my last rakat, but I am not sure, so I will go an extra mile. After at-tahiyat, Allahu Akbar. After at-tahiyat, Allahu Akbar, I come up. Again, this could be my 4th rakat, or it as well could be my 5th rakat. Because remember, we had doubt in the rakat that we were in, if it is the 3rd rakat or the 4th rakat. So now we sat down, because it really could have been the 3rd or the 4th. Now we are going on to another rakat. When we stand for that rakat, we will sit again for the last sitting, and then we will say, we will do sujood as-sahwi. We will do sujood as-sahwi under all circumstances here, because a typical example is that we only are supposed to have 2 sittings, the first sitting and the last sitting. But in this particular rakat, if you really were to analyze it, let's say afterwards we realized what we did. We realized that, you know what, when I sat for the 3rd, when I thought that was my 3rd or 4th rakat, I now remember after the salah that really was my 3rd rakat. And what would in reality happen? We sat for 3 sittings in that salah. The second sitting, the first sitting in the 2nd rakat. We sat in the 3rd rakat, and we also sat in the 4th rakat. Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, we did that because we got our final sitting in the salah. Our salah is saved. If we did not sit in the 3rd rakat, and in reality it turned out I was not in my 3rd rakat, it was in my 4th rakat, it means that we would have missed out the last sitting. It means we would have missed out the last sitting. Having an extra sitting in the salah, it's not supposed to be there, but the most important thing, my dear respected brothers and sisters, is that, remember, we maintain all the compulsory elements in our salah: qiyam, ruku, sajdah, the last sitting, kirat, the last sitting, right? we must maintain the farz and the compulsory elements in our salah. If we do not have that, we will not get and obtain our salah. And this is why it is mentioned here, just as how Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, that think about the lesser number. Bana al aqal, build upon the least number. And the wisdom behind it is that if we build upon the least number, we will not be omitting a rakat. As a matter of fact, we could be performing extra, but the extra, inshallah, will be, mashallah, extra that we did to satisfy ourselves. Whenever he acted according to the lesser number, he will make sujood sahwi. Right? When the person acted according to the lesser number, he will make sujood sahwi, because now he is doubtful between 4 and 2. If he acted upon the higher number, it means to a certain extent he was sure how much he performed. Because if we are in a doubt between 3 and 4, it means now we are certain, well, we perform 4. So we will just sit for this particular rakat. If a doubt was created concerning the number of rak'ah after salam, then such doubt will not be taken into consideration. Now, we have performed our salah, and after assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, sitting, and then now we start to waver in our thoughts. Did I really perform 3 rakats or 4 rakats? If that is the case, and we are in doubt here, just leave off the doubt. Just leave off the doubt. But we must understand this at this point, what is a doubt? A doubt means that we are not certain. A doubt means that we are not certain. We cannot say, yes, I perform all, and we cannot say, I didn't perform all. This is what is doubt. As opposed to certainty. I am certain I performed 4. I am certain I performed 3 rakats of Maghrib. So, if the doubt, the point being here is that if we are certain after we made salams, and we are sitting down, and we are now certain I left out a rakat, this is not a doubt that is coming after the salah. I am certain I left out a rakah. So therefore I now have to repeat the salah. Fahimtum? So, just reversing a bit, if a person became doubtful as to the number of rakats after salam, such doubt will not be taken into consideration. Right? So after the salam, I thought I did everything well, but a bit doubtful now. Is it really I performed 4 rakats or I performed 3 rakats? Just leave it alone. Too much doubts coming, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Right? But that is for doubt. Right? So if a person is certain, then they will have to repeat back their salah, but the doubt will not necessarily break the salah. If a person in their salah, we will go to some scenarios now that occurs in salah that would let us know if we have to make sujood sahwi or not. If a person forgetfully makes 2 rukus or 3 sajdas, it is wajib to make sajdat sahwi. If a person unintentionally or performed 2 rukus or 3 sajdas, then it will be wajib to make sujood sahwi. Right? A person, instead of performing 1 ruku, they stood up to go in sajda again, but they went Allahu Akbar and went in ruku again. Inshallah, alhamdulillah, it will not nullify the entire salah, but sujood sahwi becomes essential. They have delayed. That's another reason for performing of sujood sahwi. Delaying of an arkan of salah, as we mentioned. They were supposed to go in sajda. That's an arkan of salah. So delaying of that and going into sujood again would cause sujood sahwi to become essential. while in Salah, a person forgot to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and only recited another surah, or he recited a surah and then recited Surah Al-Fatiha, sujood sahwi will become wajib. A person performing Allahu Akbar, Thana, Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ila akhir, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. They are supposed to recite Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, but they started up with Kul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq. Surah Al-Fatiha, it is wajib to recite it first and then another surah. So if it was omitted totally, unintentionally of course, then sujood sahwi will have to be done. Or if he recited the surah and then Surah Al-Fatiha, he will also have to do sujood sahwi. If a person forgot to recite another surah after Surah Al-Fatiha in the first 2 rakats of the Fard Salah, he should therefore recite another surah in the second 2 rakats and also make sujood sahwi. If a person in the first 2 rakats of Salah recited Surah Al-Fatiha alone, did not recite another surah, in the second 2 rakats, he should recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah. However, because he changed the position of the wajib recitation, the wajib position of recitation, which is in the first 2 rakats, then he will have to do sujood sahwi. But the norm is, inshallah, we will recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah. These are hypothetical situations. These are situations that might come up once in a while, once in a blue moon, probably never at all. It is just for us to understand the rulings, inshallah. Now this is for the Fard Salah. In Fard Salah, it is wajib to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah in the first 2 rakats. After the first 2 rakats, it is not wajib to recite anything. And we are just mentioning these rulings very briefly, my dear respected brothers and elders. We mentioned about the wajibats of Salah previously in other sessions. To recite another surah after Surah Al-Fatiha in all the rakats of Sunnah and Nafil Salah is wajib. If a person forgets to recite another surah in any of the rakats, he will have to do sujood sahwi. Again, these are masail and rulings that we did before. It's just in addition, know that we have to do sujood sahwi along with the mentioning of the ruling. And if a person in 4 rakats of Sunnah Salah, we have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah in every rakat of the Sunnah and Nafil Salah. By chance, a person took it to be like the Fard Salah and he only recited in the last 2 rakats Surah Al-Fatiha, they will have to perform the sujood sahwi in that particular salah for the omitting of the surah after Surah Al-Fatiha. After reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, a person began thinking as to which surah he should recite. His thinking took so long, in that time, Subhanallah could be recited 3 times, sujood sahwi will become wajib. Sometimes after Surah Al-Fatiha, we pause. I was going to recite a surah and I forgot. And if we pause for the amount of time to recite Subhanallah 3 times, and we were not reciting anything, then sujood sahwi becomes essential. When, a very important one, my dear respected brothers and elders, we are performing 3 rakats salah or 4 rakats salah. In the first sitting, we are only supposed to recite at-tahiyat. If a person recited Allahumma salli ala Muhammad or more than that, and thereafter he realized he was supposed to stand up and he stood up, he will now have to do sujood sahwi. Right? So the jurists have explained that if a person recites after at-tahiyyat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The minimum or more than that. They recited Darul Sharif until the end. And then dua after Darul Sharif. And then realize they are supposed to get up. They will have to perform the sujood sahwi. If they said Allahumma salli, no. And then they remembered Allahu Akbar and got up, they do not have to perform sujood sahwi. With regards to the nafil salah, or even a salah which is offered after fulfillment of a particular wish, nafil salah, it is permissible to recite the Darul after at-tahiyyat when sitting for the second rakat. By reciting the Darul in a nafil salah, Sajdah sahwi does not become wajib. What this means here, remember in our last day session we were explaining 4 rakats of sunnah, it's actually like 2-2. So in those normal nafil rakats, whereby it is considered as 2-2, if we are reciting at-tahiyyat and then Darul Sharif, inshallah, it will not affect the salah in the sense that we will not have to do sujood sahwi. This is what Mawlana Shafi'i Tanvi rahmatullahi alayhi is explaining here. However, if in any particular salah, a person recites at-tahiyyat twice, then sujood sahwi will become essential. At-tahiyyat until ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, then a person will have to do sujood sahwi. A person sat down for at-tahiyyat, but mistakenly he recited something else, or he recited Surah Al-Fatiha in the sitting position, sujood sahwi will become essential. Sujood sahwi will become essential. A person forgot to recite Du'a'ul Qunut in Witr Salah. Instead, he went into ruku after reciting a surah. Sujood sahwi will become wajib. In the 3rd rakat of Witr Salah, if we unintentionally leave out Du'a'ul Qunut, we go into ruku, sujood sahwi becomes wajib. It will make up for that, inshallah. In the last 2 rakats of Farz Salah, a person recited another surah after Surah Fatiha, or in one or both the rakats. Sujood sahwi will not become wajib. If a person is performing 4 rakats of Farz Salah or 3 rakats, Maghrib Salah, we mentioned that Qiraat in the first 2 rakats is wajib. In the last rakat or the last 2 rakats, Qiraat is not wajib, it is masnoon, sunnah. If a person were to recite Surah Al-Fatiha or another surah in the last 2 rakats of Isha, silently of course, or recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah in 1 rakat, yet still they will not have to make sujood sahwi, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at times in the Farz Salah he did recite another surah after the Farz Salah. Sujood sahwi will not become wajib for things of a sunnah nature. For example, a person forgot to recite thana in salah, or he forgot to recite the tasbih in ruku. This comes to the point whereby we mention that those things that are sunnah, the leaving off of them will cause the salah to become defective with regards to loss of more merit and more reward. But it will not cause the salah to become defective with regards to leaving off of a wajib act that we have to do something to compensate. Right? So we leave off the sunnah, we didn't put sprinkles on the cake. but we leave off a wajib, we actually took out a piece of the cake and we have to fill that back with something. Right? So the sunnah is only to embellish the salah, which is important. We are not saying it is not important. The wajib, it actually takes out a piece of the cake and we have to fix that. And if a person who was supposed to offer silent salah, he did it in a loud voice, he will have to make sujood as-sahwi. Whether he was a person performing salah by himself or whether he was the imam of salah. Likewise, if the imam of salah performed a salah that had to be offered loudly, but he recited silently, then he will have to make sujood as-sahwi. If a person, we know that alhamdulillah, Fajr, Maghrib and Isha is loud salah. If we are the imam of salah, we can recite loud qiraat. Or if we are performing salah individually, we also have the option of reciting loud qiraat. If we are the imam and we are supposed to recite loudly, we do not have the option of reciting silently. So if we recite silently in Maghrib salah and we are the imam, we have to do sujood as-sahwi. Dhuhr salah, we are the imam of salah, and we recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah loudly, we will have to make sujood as-sahwi. We will have to make sujood as-sahwi. Because we are supposed to recite it silently. So with that, inshallah, we end the topic of sujood as-sahwi. There are more masail that can be discussed, inshallah. Those who have questions, they can refer to their local ulama, right? They can pose their questions to the muftis, etc., inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand what has been mentioned. Forgive me for whatever mistakes that I have said. Inshallah, we will end here on the topic of sujood as-sahwi. Join us again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.